Hello music lovers, welcome to episode 60 of What Makes This Song Special. As always each week I take a song and relate it to a story from my life. Why does the song make me think about a certain part of my life? All of us have, I suppose, songs that are the soundtracks to our journey in this world, and each song always takes me back to something in my past. So a wee story, a little bit about the song itself, the artist, and then a wee cover version at the end. I'll leave you a wee click for a separate video of a cover version of today's song, which is going to be Closed Hand Full of Friends by Foy Vance. Maybe not everybody's going to know who Foy Vance is, and I'll talk a wee bit more about that further on. But I've been planning to do this song actually in this episode for a while, and then I found out that Foy Vance's Joy of Nothing album, which is what this song's from, it just turned 10 years old, and I bought tickets to see the 10th anniversary tour, or one of the stops in Glasgow on the tour, this December, and I just thought this is a great time to feature this track. I wanted to talk about it. So an amazing song. As I said, I don't know how many of you will actually know Foy Vance or be aware of his music, but the guy is the real deal, as they say. You know, an amazing singer-songwriter from Bangor in Northern Ireland. I don't know if that's how you pronounce Bangor. I don't know. But my youngest brother Luciano introduced me to Foy's music about 18 years ago, something like that now. It must have 17, 18 years ago. He came to me one day when we worked in the kitchen. In the kitchens, I've talked about this point in my life before, and he came in one day and he said, "I've got this song you have to hear. It's really cool." And that song at the time was Gabriel and the Vagabond, and it was just a masterpiece of songwriting. It's a perfect song in my opinion. Lyrically, musically, it's incredible. It's just such a good song. And it had this really cool wee music video that was a very sort of basic sort of animation, and I remember thinking, damn, I wish I had a music video as cool as this. At the time on his YouTube channel, he probably didn't have many more fans than me. And like me at the time, and still for me, he was a fairly unknown singer, songwriter who was sort of posting videos on YouTube. And usually when I heard fellow, singers on the search for fame and fortune, I was a bit dismissive and jealous and, kind of, just not very fair towards them, because I was always kind of like, I saw them as, an enemy. But with this guy, I was just an instant fan of his music. Me and Luciano, we got all of his EPs and eventually his first album when it came out a few months later. And we went to see him a couple of years after that in Oranmore in Glasgow's West End. And he was just amazing. He was absolutely brilliant live. It was like one of those intimate gigs where you've got, you have to kind of be a real fan and feel like you've supported a guy on the journey, and I think he really appreciated that as well, where he could see that there was loads of people there who'd been there from sort of the beginning, and he was just starting to make a bit of a name for himself. So it was an awesome night. Fast forward another year or so and he released Joy of Nothing, an album that I personally think is just as perfect as you can get. It's a really perfect album. You don't often get a perfect album. Even my favourite artists are sort of guilty at times of putting out some unbelievable albums and then following up with an album with 2 or 3 great songs on it and then a lot of filler. This is definitely not a filler type album. It's just one of those albums where every song's brilliant. Every song tells a story, wrapped in memorable melodies and produced to a really great standard. I mean, the production on it's amazing. The instrumentation, the writing, the art of it all, it's perfect. It became the soundtrack to a kind of really important part of my life. At that point, I'd been sort of struggling with chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, and other mysterious and sort of scary symptoms for about 3 years. And it had taken about 2.5 of those years to get me a Lyme disease diagnosis, which I've spoken about before. This is not an episode for, woe is me talking about Lyme disease. But long story short, my life had gone in a direction at this point that I just wasn't expecting. One that would have terrified me if I'd known in advance that it was going to be like that. And it had been a really difficult time, and I'd spent thousands of pounds on supplements and alternative health practitioners, and I was just lost. And I'd been to see every consultant in every department of the NHS, and there was no answer. And anyway, this, as I said, isn't really an episode for that stuff. But all of a sudden, we were moving house to our first house with a garden, a house to bring up our little growing family. My wife Lynn's was pregnant with her second little ball of perfection, and things, as tough as they were at times, were amazing. Things were amazing. I only wish I'd kind of concentrated on how blessed I was more at that time, rather than sort of trying to find a solution for this personal health problem that I had going on. But I was very aware of how lucky I was, and less than 2 months after we moved into our new house, Lynn's gave birth to Aria, our little princess. So we had a family of 4, and a little sister for Luca. And I was left wondering, on many moments of pondering, how I'd managed to become an adult, how I'd managed to get married and have kids. And just, it was surreal. And it seemed like for the first year in that house, time kind of just slowed down. I feel like life's always really fast, but I feel like that first year was slow. It was this new adventure. We were meeting new neighbours, becoming friends with different people. I was a dad. I was looking after a family. I was building my vocal coaching business up, taking lots of wedding bookings. And although there were those health issues that left a kind of grey cloud over everything, it never seemed to fully rain. It was the sun always made its way back to give me hope that everything was going to be okay. And it was all coming together. And Foy Vance's album Joy of Nothing was playing throughout all of that first year. This incredible soundtrack to that year of my life. And when I listen to that album, I always think of the amazing memories that we had together, and even daft things like cutting the grass for the first time in my own garden, sort of being an adult and get out to cut the grass. It's just silly things, and Luca starting nursery, and walking them there in the mornings, Aria taking her first steps and babbling her first bits of words and things like that, and working on my album Auditory Dreams with the great Tommy Phillips, and me and Lynn's just becoming adults and trying to work out how to be good parents, and not having a clue what we were doing, but trying our best. And but there was just this moment one evening, which is what the song takes me back to. And it was just after we'd put Aria down to bed. And it was just me and Lynn's and me Luca, who was about 2.5, 3 years old at the time. And we were worried about him being jealous of Aria. We were worried about how he was going to take everything, and he was definitely jealous of her, and he was a bit annoyed and that she'd come along, because before she came along, he was the sort of first kid in the whole family on both sides. He was the first grandkid on both sides of the family, first great grandkid, first nephew, first everything. And then Aria came along, and as much as he loved her and it was his baby sister, she definitely took some of that attention away from him, and that broke my heart. I struggled with that, because it was difficult to see that. You wanted to give both of them 100%, but you can't do that. And there was this moment this night where we put Aria, as I said, we put Aria down to bed, and I put on the Joy of Nothing album, and the first track came on, and it was coming from a little Bose iPod dock in the kitchen that I'd got for my Christmas the previous year, and it was Closed Hand Full of Friends, today's song. And when the whole band and the drums came in on the chorus, wee Luca started dancing and jumping around the kitchen, and me and Lynn's just instinctually grabbed his hands, and the three of us were spinning round and dancing to that song. And I just wanted that moment to last forever. It was just this amazing little moment that was so simple. And we have those little moments in life where it's just a simplistic moment of nothing, but it's just so powerful and so special, and something that you just will live with you. And it's just one of those ones that I'll never forget. It was just like the album, it was a perfect moment, And so every time I hear that song, Closed Hand Full of Friends, and most of that album reminds me of that year, but that song always reminds me of that night in the kitchen, just jumping around. I think we put it on about 3 or 4 times in a row, because Luca really liked it. It was one of the more upbeat songs on the album. There are some kind of slower, more dreamy ballads on that album, and Close Hand Full of Friends is quite an upbeat one. And just there's the story. Not the funniest or most exciting of stories this week, but just that's what it takes me back to. I mean, that's what it's about. You know, it's like songs can be special for just little tiny reasons, and that's why this one's special to me. Just that moment and that year and just that point in my life. So, as an opening track to an album, I think it's sort of like being welcomed in. That song, for some reason, it's like a welcome. It's like an opening. It's like opening a door into something, and you're seeing it for the first time. And in the way that I remember Bruce Springsteen saying that Thunder Road was an invitation to a journey that he was going on with the Born to Run album in 1975. I always remember he said that in an interview. It was an invitation. This was an invitation type song that made me want to get on board, not just musically, but sort of embrace fully a sort of new chapter in my life, as I said. And I ditched a few friends over the space of a couple of years at that point, and I suppose people show you their true colours when you're maybe in your biggest hours of need. And lots of people didn't really understand what was going on in my life and didn't even really try to. And I think I just kind of pushed those people out, and I kept the people who really mattered. And I think the lyric "closed hand full of friends" is very poignant for that moment in my life where I'd taken just or kept the sort of best pieces of my life and moved on with them and sort of left a lot of stuff behind. So yeah, that's why the song's special. An amazing track from an amazing time in my life, a really special time. And so there we go. So the next part is always where I talk a little bit about the singer and the song. So I will talk a little bit about the singer and the song. So yeah, the album became quite an inspiration for my own 2016 album, Auditory Dreams, even though you probably wouldn't hear many similarities if you have a listen. That's a plug for you to go and have a listen to my album. But it really pushed me to write something personal and something that I'm still really proud of. And I think I did take a lot of even production kind of inspiration from Joy of Nothing. We'll talk a wee bit about the singer as always. Foy Vance's voice is just a wow voice. You know, what can I say? The man has true soul. A voice that could speak a million words even if he was singing in a language that you couldn't understand. He is the real deal. Everything a singer-songwriter should be, in my opinion, from a vocal coach's point of view, a nightmare, but as I say, everything that a singer-songwriter should be, because he breaks every rule in the book. He's shouty, he screams, he's husky, he sounds like he smoked a million cigarettes, but his voice is stunning. It's just the dynamics, the range, his ability to move between registers, and most importantly, his ability to connect emotionally with the lyric, with the song. It's what it's all about, and everything that's lacking from almost every singer that I hear on the scene these days at the moment. So please check him out, Foy Vance. He's fantastic. So that's why today's song's special to me. It reminds me of one of the most important moments in my life. My first years of being a dad, fighting a lot of serious stuff, hiding behind some pain and fear, and standing tall at the end of it all with a closed hand full of friends. So there's the wee story and the wee breakdown. The next thing to do is click here or here for part 2 and have a listen to my cover version of Closed Hand Full of Friends by Foy Vance. As always, thanks so much for tuning in. A short one this week, but yeah, so please like, subscribe, share, and you're more than welcome to come back next week for another song and another story. Thank you.